Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setta mano maya manasace paduttena bhasati va karoti va tatonam dukkhamanveti chakkang va vahato padang. Venerable Chief Reverend, Venerable Sirs, friends and children in the Dhamma, welcome for our Saturday Dhamma talk. Today we are beginning a brand new series based on the well-known treatise of Dhammapada. The Dhammapada, which is a book found in the Khuddaka Nikaya, the final or the last collection of Buddha's teachings, Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya, the last one, contains this treatise called Dhammapada, which is a book not directly taught by the Buddha separately, but a book made out of, by collecting, by gathering the verses we can find in the suttas. By gathering them, this book is made out of. There are hundreds and hundreds of stanzas categorized in accordance with the different themes. Based on different themes, these verses are categorized. And the first group of these verses are called the twins, the twin verses. These twin verses are gathered in accordance with the nature of those verses, that while one verse is explaining the evil side, the ugly side, the unwholesome side, the other verse is explaining the wholesome, the beautiful, the beneficial side. Learning these verses, in a way, learning the steps that the Lord Buddha, the Bhagavan, took on his path towards the Nibbana, towards the liberation. Also, it is a learning for our benefit how to take steps towards that same liberation. The first verse, impact the first two verses of Dhammapada are indicating the significance, importance of the mind, the function of the mind, the manifestation of the resultants based on the mind. In fact, it is explaining how we become our own creators. We are our own creators. What we are experiencing today as good or bad, happy or unhappy, pleasant, unpleasant, are nothing but the creations that we made in our past life, in our previous life. On this earth, we were somewhere, in any kind of form, as a woman, as a man, as a divine being, as an animal. Somewhere we were on this cosmos. And while we were living there, all our actions, intentional actions, good or bad, created, good or bad, positive or negative energies. And we are experiencing them. What your happiness, joy, bliss are the resultants of your own creations. What your misery, you are the one who is responsible for your misery because you created them. And in comparison with the world, which is drowning in misery, the people who are in immense suffering, immense misery in this world, in comparison with them, you can be grateful for your own actions, own karma that you made in your past life. Here Buddha is explaining in a very clear-cut manner how we generate positive energy within us or negative energy within us, and how that positive and negative energy follows us. It is very clear and simple. With simple most examples, Buddha is explaining to us how we are moving from one body to another by carrying our own doing, by taking with us what we did. Mano pubbangama dhamma. Dhamma, all actions, all our engagements are forerun by Mano, the consciousness mind. Remember, Mano pubbangama dhamma. This is a very famous, a well-known dictum of the Lord Buddha, which has a variety of interpretations. In this respect, with the later informations, comparative to the later informations we can find in the rest of the stanza, we can say all our doings, all our actions, Dhamma, the karma The actions, mano, made out of, or first having willed, we perform later. Performance happens later. First happens the willing, the intention, which is happening within. Buddha himself said, Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. I say karma is chetana, intention. If you want to judge your karma, you have to look within and check what kind of intention you had, you are maintaining prior to that action. If the intention is good, is noble, beneficial, though the action gone wrong, there is no reason for you to worry about it, for you to be depressed about it, because your intention is good. Results will come back to you based on that intention, not just the action. So mind comes first. It is the forerunner. It arises first before the action. Mano pubbangama dhamma. Dhamma may be signifying everything in the world. Everything which is cognitive to us. Everything which is to be experienced. That experience happens because mind comes first. You remove the mind out of this picture. There is no experiencing. There is no anyone to experience. Everything is gone. Mind runs first. Mano pubbangama dhamma. It is the forerunner. It comes first. Before all our experiences, before all our actions, all our functions. Mano setta mano maya. Mind is the greatest because all actions comes later. All thoughts comes later. All words comes later. All actions come later. Mind is the greatest because it comes first. Mano maya. It is the mind that is interpreting. It is the mind which interprets that you experience. Whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. Who made it? Who calls something pleasant? Your mind says it is pleasant or it is unpleasant. Inherently pleasant, unpleasant, good, bad is not inherently in anything. Everything is there as they are. We are the ones who judge. We are the ones who make the difference on them. We are the ones who say it is good or it is bad. Good and the bad all made out of our minds. Think about this. Or else, by right, by nature, they are there as they are. So, in that sense, everything is as they are. We are the ones who judge, who decide. In fact, our minds are the judge who make the difference, who creates the difference. Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setta mano maya. Mind is the forerunner of all functions, of all perceptions, formations. Mind is the forerunner. Mind is the greatest in this sense. Manosetta, and mind is the one which change, which generate the difference, being the judge, manomaya. Your action is made out of your mind, manomaya. Remove the mind out of that action is just a simple function without any importance, significance in it, without any kind of responsibility over it. It is just an action done in a sleep. But when you apply the mind to that action, there is one to responsible for that action. There is one to own the result of that action when the mind is applied. Or else it is just a function with no results, just a function with no one to own it, no one to be responsible about it. Mano pubbangama dhamma, mano sitta manomaya. Then Buddha says, manasa che paduttena bhasati va karoti va. With a corrupted mind, paduttena, manasa, with a corrupted mind, with an evil mind, with a mind which becomes happy seeing the suffering, seeing the misery of others, with a mind which becomes joyful when it creates misery for others, when it creates suffering, unhappiness, sadness for others, it becomes joyful. Such a mind is paduddhena manasa, a corrupted mind, an evil mind. Manasache paduddhena. With such a mind, bahasati va karoti va. If one speaks or acts, what happened? Only the misery is generated. Because that mind becomes joyful only when misery is there. Only when sadness is there. That mind doesn't become happy by creating happiness in others, joy in others. That mind is lenient upon criticizing, not complimenting. That mind is bent upon lying, harsh words, gossips. That mind just become happy with the garbage, not with flowers. That mind becomes happy with the ugliness, not with the beauty. With such a mind, with such a corrupted mind, if he speaks, those words pave the way for more hatred, misery, suffering, jealousy. His acts are nothing but for bullying others. His acts are for destroying others. His acts are to pulling others to down, not helping them to come up, but pulling them down. His actions are so negative. He laughs at others, but he doesn't laugh with others. His words hurt others, hard to listen, hard to hear. His words hurt others' feelings, not soothing to others' feelings, but hurting. Such a person with such a corrupted mind, when he speaks or acts, he forgets this. He never reflects that his actions, these has results, and those results bound to come to me, bound to come back to me. I don't have any escape from my actions with done with hatred, anger, jealousy, evil intentions of destroying others. My words that are said to hurt others, to make others' lives, they are bound to return to me. And he never reflect in that moment. But Buddha says, Chakang vahato padang. They are bound to return to that person, like the wheel of the cart. Always follow the oxen that is bound to it. That oxen, the oxes who are bound to the cart has no escape. That cart is always creating misery for the ox. As long as it is bound to him, yoked to him, he has no happiness, no joy. Only the sorrow, sadness, tears are what generates with that binding to the cart. The ox is so miserable. Buddha compared to a person who spoke, who acted with a corrupted mind, paduttena manasa. And when the results came to him, the way he becomes miserable, Buddha says, just like this ox. Just like this ox who is bound to a cart, wherever the ox goes, cart is following him, creating misery, creating tears in his eyes, creating suffering for him. So he says, be careful. Be careful before you speak. Reflect before you act. Before you speak or act, remember, the results come back to me. Like a boomerang which is thrown, returning to me. My actions will return to me with the interest, with more energy, and I am bound to suffer because of that. A doctor, a physician, long ago, he was a clever eye surgeon. And one day, a very poor woman came to him. She's blind. She said, Doctor, if you can cure me, if you can give me back my sight, I'll become a slave to you. Not only I, but also my children will become a slave to you. We become slaves to you if you can cure my eyes. The doctor, in fact, cured her. Her eyesight was getting better and better. And when her eyesight is getting okay, she remembered her promise. And she was worried about it. My whole family is going to be slaves for this doctor. Being afraid of this, she lied to the doctor. No, I am not still cured. My eyesight is not okay. Doctor, having understood that this woman is lying to him, he was so angry. In that anger, being blinded by that anger, that is the function of the anger. When you are angry, it means you are blind. Blind to the repercussion, blind to the result. If he were to have an open mind, if he were to take a step back and look at the big picture, yeah, this woman is lying to me. She has the fear to become a slave and become compassionate towards that person. He wouldn't have done the crime he did after that. What did he do? He gave a medicine with poison to her again, and she went blind totally. This is the karma. He did long, long ago. After that, after many a lifetimes later, he met the Lord Buddha. He listened to the Buddha. He became a monastic follower of the Lord Buddha. After becoming a monastic follower, he started practicing. He had this determination, I must become an arahant as soon as possible. So without sleep, he was practicing. No sleep. Day in, day out, he is practicing, he is meditating. He was practicing for 3 months. At the end of the 3 months, he was enlightened. But you know, as he was enlightened, so also he was blind. He lost his eyesight. The monks, being curious about this event, about this incident, asked the Lord Buddha, what happened? How come such a person who is fortunate enough to be enlightened become blind with that enlightenment? What is the reason? What is the cause? Then Buddha related that story. Long, long ago, he committed that crime. Being blinded by anger, he virtually blinded another person. And he became blind because of that karma. Buddha says, you have no escape from that karma. Like the cart yoked to an ox will follow you. That miserable karma you did followed wherever you go. No escape from that cart of karma. So be mindful. So be aware before you commit it, because you have no escape from it. Don't create misery for others. That misery bound to come back to you. So before you say, reflect, think, contemplate. Before you do, reflect and contemplate. Because then you can avoid. Then you can avoid committing it. You can stop generating evil, unwholesome karma in you. The second verse, Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setta mano maya manasace pasannena bhasati va karoti va tato nang sukhamanveti chayava anapayani. The first two lines are just the same. Mind is the forerunner of our actions. Prior to the actions, mind runs on the action within. Hence, Mano Siddha, mind is the greatest. Manomaya, actions are made out of mind. Then Buddha says, the opposite of the previous verse, Manasa che pasannena. If with a pleasant mind, pasanna manasa. What is this pasanna manasa? A mind which becomes happy by creating happiness in others. Someone is sad, crying, weeping, depressed, stressed. Your kind word can be a soothing balm for that weeping heart. Your patient listening can be a soothing effect on a depressed, stressed mind. A kind smile would be enough sometimes for a person who yearn for compassion, who are looking for love. There are hundreds and thousands of ways we can generate happiness in others. With our words, with our actions. Buddha says, if your heart is, if your mind is for generating happiness in others, bahasati va karoti va, when you speak, your words are for generating happiness in others. They are not the words of criticizing, but complimenting. They are the actions to raise others, not to push them down or pull them down, not to crush them down, but to raise them up. Help them to come up. Help them to stand up. They are the actions that becomes a great support for them. Manasa che pasannena bahasati va karoti va. If such an words or action happen in you, the resultants of those words and actions bound to follow you. Buddha says, Tato nang sukhamanveti. The happiness will follow you. Because you generated happiness in others. With your words, with your actions. See, this is the simple most way that the Buddha explained to us. The way of generating wholesome, positive energy within us. The wholesome karma, meritorious deeds within us. This is the simple most way. No categorical explanations, but the simplest way. He says, change your mind to become happy by generating happiness in others. Can be anything, can be a drying, withering plant. You pour some water and you can see that plant has come back to the life It is living again. What kind of feeling within you? Throw away some rest, leftover food. A little bit of food that remains in your plate after you eating. You throw away this food with the wish, may a bird, a worm, quench its hunger by this food. And you see a bird comes down and pick up those shreds of food, those grains of rice, and how joyful you can become. That joyfulness, that happiness is your merit. So I am just saying, in day-to-day life, in the regular manner, there are hundreds and thousands of opportunities for you to generate merits, to create happiness in others. That others could be anybody, your parents, your children, your husband, your wife. You have so much of opportunities, but since most of the time you have taken them for granted, you forget to create happiness in them. You have opportunities. Only thing what matters is you must need the heart for it. You have to change your attitudes, change your mind within. Once you have changed the mind, it becomes the forerunner of all your beautiful words, beautiful actions. Such a person who generates happiness in others, Buddha says, that happiness always follow him. Tato nang sukhamanveti. Never leaving that happiness you generate in others will become a never leaving power within you. What is that power? That positive power. That is the meritorious power. Buddha compared to that meritorious power, Chayava Anapayani, never leaving shadow. Shadow is something always with us. With the birth we are given a shadow. Not a burden for us, not a trouble for us, not like the cart which is drawn to a ox. The shadow is never a burden or something weighty. It is there with us all the time. Sometimes the shadow of yours can become a shade for somebody else. Buddha compared this shadow to our never leaving positive energy, meritorious energy we generated out of creating happiness in others based on the heart, which becomes happy by creating happiness in others. Do you think a heart which becomes happy by creating misery in others can generate any kind of merit? Impossible. Because that heart never becomes happy by creating happiness in others. No matter what kind of meritorious deeds that person pretend to attain, his heart is not there. His heart is a fault-finding one, not the heart that find good in everything. It is a fault-finding heart. A fault-finding heart can never generate merits. You have to change your heart, the Buddha says. Because that heart, that mind would be the forerunner to your actions. That heart is the creator of your karma. That heart is what matters in the action. If the heart is to become a beautiful one that becomes happy by creating happiness in others. Buddha said this stanza based on an incident that a young man who was dying at a very young age. The reason is that his father was a miser, extremely greedy, miserly fellow. His greed was so strong that he didn't want even to feed his son properly. And son got sick at the very young age. Since he was afraid to pay for the doctor, he did not want to summon a doctor. He just gave medicine as he wished without summoning a proper doctor. Ultimately, this son became incurable, unhelpable. No one could help him. He was dying. Father, out of the fear that when people come to see the dead body of his son, they might see the property in his house. Out of fear of exposing the property to the neighbors, he dragged the bed of the son outside to the veranda. Lord Buddha, early morning, encompassing the entire world, searching for someone to help with his mind, he saw this young man, this unfortunate, sad young man who was dying at a very young age. He saw this young man is dying with a great anger in his heart, a hatred towards his father due to the extreme greed, miserliness of my father. I have to die in such a young age. My childhood was destroyed because of his greed. My youth, my young age was destroyed because of his greed. Now I am to die because of his greed. His heart was filled with hatred. And if he is to die with hatred, his next life would be much worse. So the Buddha wanted to help this young man. So he came to the house of this Brahmin. He was sleeping when the Buddha came. To get this attention, Buddha sent some rays towards this young man, and this young man who was so weak, about to die, saw Lord Buddha, the most compassionate living being, human being that this world has ever known. Seeing the Buddha was enough for him to wash out the anger that he was drowning in. His heart was cleared out of that anger, and it was filled with a great joy by seeing Lord Buddha. And the next moment he died. When he was dying, his heart was filled with just joy, happiness that generated in him by seeing the Lord Buddha, the Blessed One. And his next birth was to happen. Next he was born in the divine realm called Tavatimsa. For him to be born in the Tavatimsa was that at the last moment he cleared his heart. He removed that dominating anger from his heart, and he filled his heart with joy and happiness by seeing of the Lord Buddha. The vision of the Lord Buddha helped him to clear his heart and fill it with joy and happiness. His last thought moment, the last cognitive process, the Javana Chittas were nothing but the joy and happiness that arose in him by seeing the Lord Buddha. His rebirth was such a blissful one, a joyful one, a divine one. He was born in the Tusita divine realm. So the Buddha says, change your heart. Change your heart from the corrupted one to a pleasant one. After that, even a thought that arises in you can generate a great energy, positive energy, meritorious energy for you. Manasa che pasannena, bahasati va karoti va, tato nang sukha manveti, chayava anapayani. Never leaving shadow would be those resultants of the actions, words, thoughts generated within you. With a heart which is pleasant, pasannena manasa. That's enough for today. Let's share these merits together with the Devas and the departed ones. Akasatta cha bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu lokasasanam chirang rakkantu desanam chirang rakkantu mam parante. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Blessings for you. Dukkha roga bhaya vera soka sabbe upaddava anekantaraya pi vinassantu ca tejasa jaya siddhi dhanang labhang sotti bhagyam sukang balang siriyayu ca vanno ca bhogang buddhi ca yasava satavassa ca ayu ca Jiva siddhi bhavantu te ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samijjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good night, everybody.